Hi, everyone. Today is Sunday, May the 18th of 2025, and we are here for the weekly crypto review. And I made sure I got up super early, already showered, washed and dried clothes, got the last load in the dryer while I'm talking to you guys. So I'm not going to be late for my flight. And I can still get the questions and answers in because remember, I joked about this. I warned you all when I get on that airplane, you were going to have a big move in the market. And it's, what can I say? And then I've got Ask a Medium on Wednesday. So yeah, I got lots of stuff going on before I hit the airplane on Friday. And I'm hoping that's going to be a big crypto day for everybody. Because you know my story about me being on airplanes. So let's watch. Let's watch closely.
But unfortunately, I'm getting on an airplane shortly. So that means cryptos are probably going to run. Ha! Yeah. On a plane after what's trending. See, I timed it. I was booking the flight. I was like, oh, I got to get a what's trending done.
But really what I do here is I don't give people trading advice or anything like that. What I do is just, we're just all holding on together and getting some information on the future and making heads and tails of it will help us make some good choices and also help us get out of the way when these huge backsides of those waves come. Or at least we'll be ready and know that it's going up again. Lake Green Eyes. Hi, Sam. When do you see regulation kicking in for cryptos? And how do you see that affecting cryptos immediately after and then longer term? Thank you. That's a great question. Lake Green Eyes, we know that regulation is coming in September. And that was from the Blab. And then they announced after Trump was elected that who their crypto czar is. And I did the math and I figured, well, by the time they all have a chance to have a few meetings and meet with other people, I mean, they don't want to make a mistake. You've only got one chance really to get this right. And any mistakes could be costly for the administration. So I felt like it was going to be September, and that's what they've come out with and said that it's going to be September. But I do feel like this summer, instead of selling in May and going away, I think that people are going to miss out on a great opportunity. Because between now and September, that's when we're going to see the big rise. And then what'll happen is so that'll be like everything will go up. But then what'll happen is in the fall, it'll be particular ones. So, that's why you got to spread your bets. Instead of saying, hey, Sam, like which ones is the government going to, sanction as theirs? And we already have that list. And thankfully, a lot of my faves are on that list. I mean, I'm not lost on that. But I certainly don't want people to pile drive all their money into something, because what happens is that when you have 100,000 and let's say you take 50,000 and you throw it all into flyers, which go down 10 times, before they're even going to consider going up, and that's why greedy get you caught. So I just want to give people a heads up warning that, make sure that you do your research. And most of all, I have a really great hit record for a lot of things, including cryptos. But it is super important to remain balanced. And most of all, just don't be greedy. Because I find that it will come back and bite you. Yeah. And everybody who's we're all hanging on together. Things are going to go up. It's your usual suspects. And there's going to be some new ones as well. And we'll be here to talk about them when it's revealed. Kevin says, hi, Sam. Looking at things now, do you agree that the run to 4 trillion will start in June or early July since not much of this month is left over? No, Kevin. What do you mean not much of this month is left over? Oh, you're so funny. Not much of the month is left over. We can possibly make it to 4 trillion. Oh, yes, we can. All right, I'm going to show you my screen. So it would be probably we could tip over to 4 trillion like June 3rd or June 5th, but I do think that we could turn around. So let's look at this. Right. So we look at just 1 month, right? And look at that. Look at how much in 1 month we went from 2.762, right? And remember that 2.4 to 2.7 range. And I think that we're going to be in the 3.4 to 3.7 range. And then it'll just go to over 4 trillion. So yeah, a month ago, it was let's just round it up and say 2.8 trillion. And then right now it is 3.387. So let's just say round it up to 3.4 trillion, right? So 3.4, that's 600 billion. So, that puts us at the 4 trillion mark in just 1 month. So that would be like June 19th. But who says that we can't have a move like this? Right? Yeah. You know what? I was packing that day. Yeah. I booked it this day, I think. But you know what? I called that anyways, the last part of April. But you know what? Things can run like 2 weeks later. It's more likely if I get like an exact date on something that I'm going to get a hit for it. If I get like an exact date. Detron says, when we reach 100 trillion in market cap, will Bitcoin still be the number one coin? If not, what do you see as being the number one coin? So no, Detron, I do not see Bitcoin as being the number one coin. I do see it falling to within the top 5. The top coin, like Solana and Doge. So remember that Doge doesn't have to be worth like $50,000 to have a huge market cap. I think $8 will do it. So yeah, I would put Solana and Doge higher up. Somebody took some notes a few years ago when I was guessing what the top ones were going to be by the time we hit 100 trillion. And there's going to be a couple in there that we've never heard of either. But that's okay. We won't need that because we have Solana and Doge. Right. But again, don't go all in on that. Spread your bets or you could miss out on some great opportunities. But don't have too many. If you have too many cryptos, then you can't manage them. But everything's going up. So really between now and the end of the summer, just everything is going to go up. And then that's when you need to take your profits and maybe get rid of some of your shit coins that you've done some research on. And you're like, I don't think that one is going to be good for the long term. We thought so, but it doesn't have the level of activity that some of this other new stuff has. And, so we're going to, move on, take advantage of that. Because, if it goes up like 500%, like 5 times, like get rid of it. You're like, oh, the other small caps have all gone like 20 times. So what am I doing with this laggard, right? So this will be your opportunity to do it as far as timing goes. But then in September, the winners basically will be announced. And if you are a holder of a winner, it could go parabolic. Not good, it will. I just don't know which ones are right now. Maybe that'll be the bull flag for Solana. Like Rihanna, if we cash out profits in our memes before June Calamity to take profits, will any memes survive into the next run-up around September, November run-up? Like once we cash out, should we dip in again for the next run-up? Double dipping. You're funny. Oh yeah, probably like most of them will survive in that run-up. And that's part of, taking profits is that, if the backside is like 500 billion, then you're kind of like, wow, I'm glad I took some profits. And then go in, buy some more. I mean, the market's going to 100 trillion. The only problem you run into when you stay with the same projects is that if it happens to be one that peters out, you took all these profits and then you built up your cryptos, but then it goes to zero. So I would be more likely to just move my money memes are high risk. They go like that and then down, that and then down, that and then down. Very, very sharp. Whereas you want to go with the stuff that's higher up on the list. So that's what I would do. Me personally, that's what I think is your best bet. Because some of those memes will be gone. They'll never come back. But I don't know which ones they are right now. I have to swim closer to the beach to see that. And usually by the time I get the answer on something like that, I might be a little bit too late. As far as making money, getting out of the way, yeah. You could probably get your money back from it and get out of the way if you missed the top end. But yeah, double dipping. I mean, I guess you could say I did that with Doge, selling it at 40 cents and then buying back at 10 cents. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, I would rather sell, my bonk and then roll it into Doge or Solana or Ethereum. And good for those of you who did not lose your faith in Ethereum. As you know, I always saw it as one of the top coins. And actually, ETH will be really high in the top 5 as well, probably surpassing Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be like maybe number 4. So like Ethereum and Solana and XRP. Okay, let's write that down. Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Bitcoin, and Doge. At the 100 trillion market cap. Let's see if that's right. Yeah, I know. Bitcoin number 4. Samantha Jane, say it isn't so. Oh, do you have too much of Bitcoin? Oh, you can never have too much Bitcoin, right? Anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you hold. Right now, it's all going up. And remember, you only need 3. So that means, it's going to get pretty huge. Barefoot Doc, hi Sam. This is not a crypto question, but did you see that James Comey was arrested? Is this the beginning of the end for them? Yeah, I know that's not, but it's not a personal question about you. It's all connected with cryptos. So did he actually get arrested? Because he was the first in the string. That was years ago. Oh my God. Spencer's going to be looking for my blabs on James Comey.
They've had the server since the beginning. They've had everything since the beginning. I was never worried, just like I'm not worried about cryptos. And James Comey is the first one being trotted out. Well, I mean, it's his fault. He was the one who was, putting himself out there with his book and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, you're the first one that Trump is going to publicly take down as a signal to the rest of. Well, I mean, you have to think about the Gang of 8 as well. So yeah, I bet you he'll be the very first one out of all of them. Because if James Comey is the first one to fall, as far as the public, because I mean, really, people haven't been talking about Andrew McCabe. And I mean, we knew a while back that he was in trouble. But I mean, James Comey is really the first one out of that group that is going to make everybody go, yeah, they're going to be coming for us too. But I'm just saying that James Comey, like, he's going to be the first one that's like the big people, the big tree that falls. These guys are just little bushes who were sucked into believing that Donald Trump was a horrible person. James Comey actually knew that he was covering for a bunch of criminals and that he expected to get rewarded so that when Donald Trump won, and this is why it had to happen. So thank you again for those of you who were not blinded and conned. And a big part of that was that you dumped mainstream media years ago. There was something that triggered it. Yeah, they're going after the big fish. But once the big fish, Comey, is arrested, then that's going to cause widespread panic. Since those who are in denial will think who thought that they were still safe. But once it's known that James Comey is going to be on the hot seat, they all know it's all over. St. Comey will say and do anything to save himself. That was the information I got. I know stuff. And they know I know stuff. So go ahead and take your shot. But I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna blab, and I'm gonna tell you who I think James Comey is gonna have a perp walk soon. They know what he did. I told you, I didn't forget about it. And people have circled back and said, how come the arrests aren't happening? And I'm like, well, I guess there's going to be a delay because, everyone just turned a blind eye to the election being stolen in 2020. But now I understand that this is how it's supposed to happen. I was kind of mad at first. I was like, why aren't you doing anything? I can't do anything. These criminals, they're going to destroy the world, all of us. Do something. But then I realized that wasn't the plan. The plan was for all of this to be unfolded in front of everybody, and then there'd be no turning back. The mask being ripped off, and then they would know that their father was the devil. That's what I said. The mask is going to get ripped off, and then everyone will know their father is the devil. So just hold on to your loved ones. Stay strong. And stay positive too, because I'm here and I'll, no matter what, I'll keep getting the word out. Because I got a great group of people over on Patreon that support me and want me to be available to people who can't afford their own medium. Just like these, the movie stars and stuff, they have their own medium and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So I don't know if he's been arrested. So I do think that it was in the blab back in 2019 that he would be the first in the string. Isn't that funny? He couldn't help himself, could he? But right now, cryptos. Sam, Cardano's Hoskinson says he will do a massive multi-chain glacier drop to retail users late 2025. Do you see this happening, and will it be big? Yes, and in fact, it's going to be so big, it's going to involve like the Trump boys. Mm, mm, yeah, that's how big I think it's going to be. So, man, I'll tell you, people are just losing their mind that Trump's involved in cryptos. And I was like, oh, what a bunch of hypocrites. They've basically been scheming and stealing from the American people through USAID and, all of the things that Doge has uncovered. I mean, talk about people going to jail. It's going to be it's going to be epic. I told you, epic. That's why they wanted to murder him. I said, just look at your usual suspects like John Brennan. I can't believe he's still alive, but I did see that he was going to make it to charges. All right, next question. Cal says, what prices do you see Sol and AM breaching at market caps? 4.1 trillion and 8.1 trillion. Thanks. Well, I do see Sol and AM among like pretty much everything else going to their all-time highs. But what I would do is I would take that opportunity to press the button and just amalgamate into the cryptos that are higher up on the list. So yeah, back to all-time high, but I wouldn't even ride it to all-time high. I would probably take it like maybe 75% of the way. Because I don't think anybody here bought stuff anywhere near its all-time high, like Phantasma or Sol. Ursula says, hi Sam, will Polygon rise from the dead this run, or rather next run? It seems they are still working behind the scenes. Thank you. Oh yeah, both runs, Ursula. In fact, it'll be sort of the one that there's like a pile on, because it's like, oh, well, this one is still a really good value. And they're still working on it. And also the rise of India is really going to help that too. I don't know at what point Polygon is going to overtake its old numbers. I would say that would be after September when it would overtake its old numbers. So I think it went as high as $3. So, if you didn't take an opportunity to take your profits from Matic, and, you're somebody who got in on it when it was 10 cents, well, when it's $1.50, I mean, that's 15 times. So scoop. Again, it just helps with your attitude, settles your belly down too. RHO says, Sam, what do you see the market cap high in June, July? I didn't think we were going to get to the 4 trillion until like the early part of June. I think June 8th was my date, but that either could be the Calamity or the date that we finally tip over the 4 trillion, or at least get to a new all-time high, which is pretty much the 4 trillion. And I don't know what July will be, because I felt like there was going to be a big pullback in June from the Calamity. Your calamities. Oh. Yeah, now we're starting to understand what the everything all at once looks like as Cascadia begins to act up. But remember, before these things become a significant problem for humanity, they do make quite a bit of noise and cause quite a bit of stink. So I know sometimes people hear something about Cascadia and they think it's going to happen. Oh, it must be going to happen next week. But that's just in our human mind, But remember, when it comes to the world, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. But again, when it comes to volcanic stuff, it's a little bit different where, once it starts having earthquakes more consistently, like they're having in Campi Flegrei, you're more likely to get action sooner rather than later. Whereas anyone will tell you that Cascadia can, can have some earthquake swarms for quite a while before anything happens. And, having the smaller earthquakes is actually good for places like Cascadia, because then it lets off some of that pressure. And when I saw it going, it was like that. Just not this wavy, or all the buildings getting thrown up, but just this, one of those. But the thing about it, when it does that, like the ocean comes into Vancouver. So that's what I find really scary, because you have to remember the ocean also has big ships in it that are parked at. Yeah. I mean, that's what they do with a lot of them when there's tsunamis, is they just take them out and they start to head out to sea. And they'll just take their chances there. but they don't want to, because when you come inshore, the wave is even higher. And and ships are made to survive, like those rogue waves. There are rogue waves that are sometimes like 100 feet high. Yeah. And Beatrix has a question. May I ask where Shiba is going this year and 2026? And do you get any readings for real estate in 2025? And particularly from Canada, if that is okay. Okay, so I'm going to stick to Shiba, and you can definitely ask questions about real estate, Beatrix, for Canada when we're doing like a live stream on the weekend. I do an all tiers. I do an all members. I do the advanced and premium, and I do the premium. So there's a lot of those ones that are like non-cryptos. So yeah, I'm going to look up SHIB, and I'm going to see what they have to say about that. Because now I personally do not hold SHIB. And it was one of those meme coins that you had to get in on early. It was not on my radar. Shiba Inu. And it reminded me to being like very similar of the XRP army. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see. All right, here we go. All right, so with SHIB, yeah, it looks like it's trending down there. All right, I'm going to look at the max. All right, it looks like a good point to sell for SHIB is probably at this number, the high that it was at on March 6th of 2024. That's a good jump off for SHIB. So it will see that, but I don't really see a long-term advantage. But yeah, that's a great question. There's a few people who hold SHIB in our group, and that's kind of new in the blab. I didn't really have an idea about that. So thanks for that great question, Beatrix. And sorry I can't answer your other one, but I'm just going to stick to cryptos today, unless I get something I got to say. But no, it's a great time to be in cryptos. I'm very excited. Rob has a question. Hi, Sam. Will KNC ever get back to the all-time high? If so, when do you see it reaching it again? Thank you. Okay. So Rob, and let's see. I think that we should see that rise up to, during the run, it should go up to $2. And then I would take profits and then just wait for a pullback in the market and put it in one of the higher cryptos. But let's move on to I'm Richie. Sam, what will DOT do in this run up to 4 trillion? And will it be around at the 100? Oh yeah, it's going to be definitely going to be around at the 100 trillion run up. And actually, I think that Polkadot's finally going to start getting some attention, because it is one of the, like, if somebody asked me like, Sam, what hasn't moved yet? And what do you think I should have like in my portfolio mix, other than like obviously Solana, and maybe like get some Doge and, a few other things. So yeah, I think this is kind of a last chance to get in for DOT. It'll be one of the ones that does really well this run, but it really gets its legs in September, because I think it's going to be on the list. Like I said, the short list that the government has, I think DOT is going to be, I mean, you can sell the rumor before leading up to that. And I mean, my buy-in for DOT is only around $2. So, at 10 times at $20. See, I would do 10 times for that. Most of them it's 3 to 5. So if you didn't take any profits when things were bonkers and it went 10, 50 times and you took nothing, the opportunity now is it's 3 to 5 times, like in the general range. But DOT, I think, is going to be one that does much better. It just hasn't performed well yet. Limit break. Hi, Sam. I remember you favored Maple. Yes, Maple. A few months ago, when Moo was still around, another past week, it has gone berserk with over 100% days. It literally looked like an XRP hockey stick as it went from $1 as of this writing to $15 to $16. No, I didn't get in at this point, and kudos to those who did, as that definitely has Moonboy Energy. But my question, do you see other favorite coins and tokens do 100% days in a span of a week? Oh, yeah. Some of the ones we hold actually are going to do that. So get ready. You blabbed over a year ago that we would have a string of days where things go up 100% every day. Yep. String of days. It's coming up. Probably, oh, listen, I'm getting on the airplane today. Let's see what happens. Oh, let's see if we get some results there. But yes, congratulations for those of you who had Maple or holding it, and definitely liked it for finance. And turns out it was better than Ondo after all. But again, I'm into the long-term game. Let's see. Where do you see VET and Super at market caps of 4 and 8 trillion? Oh, those are good questions. Okay, so VET, let's see. That'll be back to like the 28 cents. It might even make to the 30 cents. And Super, like maybe $4.50. That's what I'm going to guess for the 4 trillion market cap. Remember, take profits and move your money into the higher ones, the ones in the top 20. Coins Luck says, hi, Sam. Can we see ADA to a new all-time high this run in September or November? Thanks. I think that's going to be like September. Yeah. Because I said the run to 4 trillion that it would go back to its all-time high. And then it'll go past that. And Riva with the last question. I bought Optimism back in April. I feel like I need to sell it and put into one of the usual suspects. Should I hang on until September or flip it into something else? Do you see it going for a run anytime? Oh, okay. Optimism. Let me just bring that up first. Yeah, and we'll take a look at it. Let's just say with Optimism, I was optimistic about Optimism. And I do feel like they are working like quietly behind the scenes, even though in the last year, while the market's been going up and money's been going elsewhere, money has not been going into Optimism for some reason. And I don't know how much you have into Optimism. If you could take like a portion of that and put it into the usual suspects. But I think that there's going to be some announcements soon. And a good jump off price for you. You bought it in April. Yep. So you got it pretty cheap. Yep. At 70 cents. And it's just kind of up and down from there. I think you can get like almost $3 from that short term and still ride your way up, in my opinion. All right. And only $500. Something told me to hold back. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. You didn't go crazy then. Yay, you didn't go crazy. And then when it goes up, maybe you can turn it into 5,000. That'd be awesome. Anyways, I am optimistic about Optimism. I know it's one of the ones that hasn't really performed. But again, you know how they do the rounds, right, with cryptos. And then they have the group that are everyone's favorites. Okay. So I got to go, guys, because I got to catch a flight. And, but the top 20 and give you a feel for some, I'm going to take a look at that on the airplane and see what I can get. And just throw your questions in on the Discord. That is really the place to be, is the Discord. So I look forward to getting back to a more regular schedule and things going back to normal for at least the next month and a half. Bye for now.